Hello everybody. I wanted to make a different kind of video compared to what I normally upload to help those who are trying to build a patio cover. But first, I want to say thank you to everybody who has not only watched my patio videos, but has also liked them and has subscribed to my channel. I have received a ton of feedback and many questions, some of which I will answer through this video, which will cover everything you need to know to obtain a permit for your patio cover. The very first thing you want to do is go to your city's planning and zoning department, which will provide you with the application and other very useful information. I strongly encourage you that you physically visit the department because there will be somebody there that's going to give you exactly what you need. For example, if we were to try and do this online and we head over to the City of Glendale Planning and Zoning website, you will find the application. However, there are other papers you need to submit with your application that the website doesn't show you. This is a packet from the City of Glendale that was provided to me when I visited their department to get my permit. In this packet, we will find all the information we need to build a covered patio according to the building codes set by the City of Glendale. Your application might contain a page like this: Owner versus Builder. There are two scenarios. You are either the homeowner and you do not intend to sell or rent your house, and you will be doing the work by yourself. Or you are the property owner and will have someone else perform the work who will need to be a licensed contractor. This answers a question I often get asked: if you need to be a licensed contractor or if you can do it yourself. The City of Glendale definitely allows for homeowners to do the work themselves. This is a page containing limitations and restrictions. One of the questions I often get asked: can the covered patio serve as a second-story balcony? Even though the City of Glendale does allow for a second story, the types of patios in my videos called lean-to patio roofs are not made or built in a way that a second story could be possible. If you are wanting a patio roof that can serve as a second-story balcony, you will need to build something different than what I will be showing you in this video. Also, if your home is part of an HOA, there will be another page containing their limits and restrictions. This page was also provided to me by the City of Glendale, which has my HOA development standard, which state that all necessary structures should not occupy more than 45% of the total area. Additionally, my backyard needs to have a depth of at least 20 feet. This means my patio roof cannot be as big as I want it to be, but instead be built according to the restrictions set by the city and by the HOA. The following pages are templates which they provide for you to fill out and for you to select how you will choose to attach the patio roof to your house depending on what kind of exterior wall you have. These pages contain extremely valuable information, and a lot of the questions I get asked are answered within them. For example, from the concrete floor to the bottom of the horizontal beam, you are required 7 feet of clearance or 84 inches. This is the information you will be asked to fill out. This is the span of the rafters from the ledger board to the horizontal beam. This is the overhang from the beam to the fascia board. You will need to decide what roof covering you will use, but for minimal slope patio roofs, like the ones in my videos, you will use a roll roofing with a vapor barrier. This material usually has a 1/4 inch minimal slope requirement, but I usually go up to 1/2 inch for a greater slope, which means that for every 12 feet total span of the patio roof, you will need to slope the roof down 6 inches, which then also gives us our minimum height of our ledger board. Our ledger board height is 84 inches of clearance, plus the size of the horizontal beam, 7.5 for a 4x8, plus the number of inches the roof needs to slope down, which gives us 97.5 inches as the minimum height of the ledger board, which you can increase and make your patio taller so long as you don't exceed the maximum height set by the city or the HOA. In the next pages, we will go over the size of the rafters, beams, and posts, as well as their distances. This page is asking for the post spacing. In my example, I needed my patio roof to be 30 feet wide. I decided to go with 9.5 feet spacing for my outer posts and 9 feet for my inner posts. This gives me 28 feet and leaves 1 foot on both ends for the outer fascia boards. Now, some people have asked me, what if I just want 3 posts? So long as your horizontal beam is large enough to support the distance, it's okay. And we will talk about this on the last page. This page is asking for the information on the rafter spacing, but we will come back to that on the last page. Here's another question I get asked often. Do I need a concrete footing? If you are pouring concrete for a new patio, I will always suggest to dig out footings for your posts. Footings should be 12 by 12. However, if you are building on an existing concrete pad, that is also okay. In the city of Glendale, you are required a 3.5-inch concrete slab. If we look at the Arizona frost depth, Glendale and Phoenix, which are located in Maricopa County, has a frost depth of about 0 to 2 inches. Now, if your concrete pad is sinking, cracked, or broken, you will definitely need a footing or redo your slab. You will need to decide how you will attach your patio roof to your house. In my example, I had to attach the patio roof to the side of my house by cutting into the stucco and adding the necessary counter flashing. I often get asked, do you need to cut the stucco? According to this, you need to provide flashing between new and existing deck. And the only way to do that is by cutting into the stucco. And this is what counter flashing is all about. Water coming down the stucco will be repelled away with the C-bar flashing that sits behind the stucco, and it will then come down to the L flashing that sits below the C-bar and over the patio roof. Now your house might have this beautiful detail called an eave, and that will need to be removed. While my dad continued to remove the shingles, I began removing the boards of the eaves. We did this until we left nothing but the rafters, and those went away too. A common mistake I see is that people will attach their patio roofs to the edge of the eaves, which is very bad. This part of the roof is exposed to the weather, and the fascia board is usually split or rotted away. Now, what is interesting is that the city of Glendale says you may remove this if required. And I am just wondering why you would spend all this money and energy to build a patio and have this thing coming down from it. That is why we remove the eaves whenever we work with this type of roof. Another odd detail is that the city of Glendale says to attach your patio rafters to the trusses of the roof, therefore not requiring a ledger board. Now, I personally like using a ledger board with the rafter hangers. We place the ledger board on top of the home's top plate and then attach our rafters to the ledger board like a standard lean-to patio roof. This is the information for attaching the rafters to the beams. Two important things here. You will need a hurricane tie to anchor each rafter to the horizontal beam. And because the rafters are sloped down over the beam, you will need to notch out the rafter for it to lay flat on the beam. Each beam will be tied together at the top with a metal strap, and at the bottom using a post cap to tie the beams and the posts together. And finally, we have arrived at the most important page in this packet. I want you to pause this video, take a screenshot or a picture of the screen, print the page or the picture, and laminate it. I will say that most of the questions I answer have to do with these schedules. How big should my rafters be? Okay, well, in my example, I have a rafter spacing of 10 feet from the ledger board to the horizontal beam. If I look at the table for 10 feet span, I can go as wide as 24 inches for a 2x6 rafter. Should I use a 4x6 or a 4x8 beam? Or what if I only want 3 posts? Okay, well, let's look. I have a rafter span of 10 feet and my posts are 9 and 9.5 feet apart, which means I can use a 4x6 post. However, I personally step up to the next size just to be safe. But you want to use only 3 posts. So again, 10 feet rafter span. However, my schedule table only covers up to 12 feet spacing between posts. This means you will need to call your lumber yard and give them your patio dimensions. I have this rafter span with posts 18 feet apart. What size beam do I need? And they will provide you with the correct size beam. And finally, another common question I get asked, how much slope do I need? For built-up roofing, roll roofing, and foam, you only need a quarter slope, which means for every 12 inches of roof length, you will come down a quarter of an inch. However, I feel that is way too little slope. I don't want any water puddling on my roof, so I go up to half an inch slope, which means half an inch slope for every 12 inches, which is 6 inches of slope for a 12-foot patio roof. If you have to use something like asphalt shingles, you will need a drastic 24-inch drop, at which point a lean-to patio roof is no longer viable, and you'll need something like a gable roof, which has 2 sloping roofs, to achieve such a drastic slope. Now, I want to answer one last question that I am frequently asked. This is my application, and if you look at the very top, the city of Glendale charged me $300 for this permit. When I built my patio, I was a first-time homeowner. $300 was not something I was prepared to pay or had in my budget, and I know that there are others looking to DIY their own patios, and so I often get asked, do I need a permit? I am ethically and morally bound to tell you that yes, you need a permit, but I know that there are many patios that have been built without one. What I would suggest is to go get the packet and the application. This will provide you with a wealth of information, and it will prepare you for when you decide to get your permit. If you apply for the permit and use the information given to you to build your patio, you will reduce the downtime between inspection points. Because when the inspector comes to see what you did, he will see that you did it correctly, therefore accelerating the process and having your patio done much faster than to have to fix mistakes and wait for another inspector to come out and check your work again. Thank you for watching my video. If you found it helpful or if you liked it, I ask that you please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to help support the channel, I ask that you please subscribe as well. Thank you.